Are we in Prezi mode right now?
Hi, everyone. We have Eric from Closer's Compass, and his background is he started off knowing nothing of sales. He was actually an artist, and then he ended up working at a B2B company in marketing and becoming one of the top salespeople. And now he's actually educating and empowering entrepreneurs in doing sales. And in this one, you're going to be learning about why a sales script, how to actually form one, and what's the best way to form one. All right, Eric, let's hear it.
All right. Well, everybody, dude, this is really exciting. I'm so excited. I don't know if I could use that word anymore, but I'm going to actually give you a little bit more than what I gave you in the teaser, because everyone knows under promise, over deliver. So let's jump in. Just like Tanya said, artist with no sales experience. I got a job cold calling and selling advertising at Yodel. I became the #1 sales guy in the office in 4 months, and I stayed that for 4 years. And now I consult with advertising and marketing agencies on how to be awesome at sales, and I love crystals. And so I also help other businesses too, but so far, I've helped advertising and marketing agencies start from literally nothing, like no business, to taking them to $5,000 a month in billables in literally 2 weeks. Like no business, like no script, no company, no vertical, no nothing. So I am really happy when I help people. And so I want this to be really valuable for you. So if you feel like you have a burning question and you want to interrupt me, I would interrupt you. So you should interrupt me. So let's who said that?
That was me.
That was you. Okay. Well, I would interrupt you. All right. So let's jump in here. All right. So why scripting, right? That's, an important question. So in order to answer that question, let's really take a look at who uses scripting. We got Leonardo DiCaprio. This guy's my favorite actor. I love him. Right, Christian Bale, probably #2 there. Abraham Lincoln, right? Everybody knows him. And MLK and Nelson Mandela. All of these people love scripting. In fact, when they do a speech or when they deliver their part, they are not making it up on the spot. Not at all. In fact, can you imagine what the director would say if, an actor just came in and was like, you know what, I'm just going to go right off the cuff over here. No, they get their ass kicked. And so, I want you to ask yourself this question, right? Like, are you a more talented improviser and speaker than these people? Right? And so I would say probably no. So scripting, just like it's good for them, it's going to be good for you. So I say, there are 3 C's why you're going to like scripting and why it's valuable. So it gives you a lot of confidence. It makes your life a lot easier, right? If you know what you're going to say coming into a conversation, then you better believe that you're going to be more confident. There's some typing in the background if you wouldn't mind just muting yourself. Second, if you put scripting into place, you're going to get clarity on the conversation and what you're going to say. And that is going to bring ease to your conversations. Because I know, a lot of people get nervous when they're on sales calls, right? Raise your proverbial hand if you do. Right? Daniel, thank you. You're the only person I can see. So I'm just going to assume everybody is. So next is crazy effectiveness, which isn't really a C, but I like to pretend like it is. You're going to close more deals. All of these things are going to lead to doing that. So let's talk about what is a script, and really just talk about what is not a script. I have seen a lot of people come to the table with things that they call scripts, and they're definitely not, which, is okay, but it's just not going to help you, and it's not going to achieve what a script is designed to achieve. So here's not a script. A script is not an outline of what you will say. A script is not a smorgasbord of things that you could say. And a script is not some ideas of what to say. Now, I'm laughing at these things, but that is what people generally think of when they think of a script. When I'm thinking of a script, man, I'm thinking of the exact things that I'm going to say so that if I close my eyes, I can deliver that script. In fact, at this point, every sales conversation I have, 90% of the words that come out of my mouth are some version of the 30 scripts I've written in my life. Like there's some version of that utilizing exact phrasing. So this is like Bible type stuff here. All right, so let's jump in. Why? Why does Steve Jobs wear a black turtleneck and jeans every single day? Right? And I promise you this is on task of why you should use a script. Why? Decision fatigue. Consider that you only have so much decision juice in your tank. Yeah, that's right. Like you get tired every time you make a decision. And you want to spend that decision juice on important things, which is like listening to your prospect, pretty much, yeah, that's the most important thing. You want to spend it on things that are true variables and not things that you could create as constants. So by doing scripting, what you do is you get an opportunity to create these constants and reduce variables. All right, now I just was listening to this book on tape this morning, like no joke, and I wanted to add this in because this guy said, the worst time to think about what you're going to say is right now. And he had an accent that was similar to that. You don't want to be thinking about what you're going to say to this person right now. You've already thought about it. All right, so jumping in, we're going real basic here, but this is probably going to surprise some of you. There are two basic parts to all sales calls. Number one, in the first part, you find out what they want. In the second part, you tell them what you have. It's like, couldn't be more simple than that. Now, part one, must-haves. Without being clear on what they want, there is no second part, right? Like, why are you going to have a conversation with somebody who doesn't know what they want? And well, they're definitely not going to buy anything. So without them being ready to take action on the want, there really is also no point in continuing, right? You should stop the call because it's going to waste your time, right? Like you don't want to have a hypothetical conversation about sales. You want to have a conversation that actually applies to that person's life. So there we go. Part two, must-haves. What you have, okay, yeah. What you have, you want to make sure it's presented in the language of what they want. So no feature dumping or talking at them. This is not a monologue, it is a dialogue. And that may seem contradictory because there is a script, but I promise you that, as an artist myself, what I can tell you is this, is that I first heard about scripting, I was like, damn, this sounds really limiting. But what I found is if I had this basic structure of what I was going to say, that I had the ability to dance in a conversation. And that to me was really valuable. And it provided more freedom in just being myself, which is a general wackadoodle guy. So next is you must ask them for the deal, for the business, for the opportunity to work together. That is probably like 75% of why people don't close deals if they make it past the first half of the conversation. You must ask explicitly. Let me give you an example. Linda, would you like to buy my product right now? Right? Jen, will you allow me the opportunity to go to work for you and get started? Right? When I do that, I'm giving myself an opportunity. If not, boom, no. All right, next.
What about people who ask you, what does it look like to work with you, right? So like, what if you have the flip side of that, right?
That's a good question, Juliana. We'll get to that in just a minute.
All
Which
right,
is
cool.
exactly what you should say to them. And it's what I'm saying to you. Does that answer your question?
Yes and no.
Okay, well, as far as the yes part, you are about to, in just a second, right? We haven't even gotten into the script. So when we do, what I'll go over with you is like at the very beginning of the call, you're going to address some of the basic stuff. So you're not going to have to worry about them asking like a basis of question of what it's like to work with you, because you can't answer that question of what it's going to be like to work with them unless you know what it is that they want, right?
Yeah, for sure. And we can talk about it later. Like, I was just meaning like when you get to the end of it, right? And they're like, hey, so was it, like they're excited and they're like, hey, what's it like to work with you? As opposed to you saying like, hey, this is what it's like to work with me. And like, we can talk about that, like when you get to that part of the presentation.
Yeah. Well, let's get there. And if you still have questions, I'll answer that. Okay. Because I'm going to adjust that.
All right, cool.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to just rehash what I just said. I'm going to mansplain this. I don't really know what mansplain means, but it sounds kind of funny. In the first half, you're convincing them that they need to do something. I just assume that mansplain means that men don't really, that men need to be given things very explicit. So the first part is you're convincing them that they need to do something. The second part is you're establishing yourself as that something to do, right? It's like so simple. So here's some principles to guide you on your script and your call. So this is kind of like a shocker for people, but your product's inherent value or apparent value won't make the sale by itself. Did you know that they have a website and they've already looked at that you have a website? They probably looked at it and they haven't already been like, yo, let's do this, right? Yeah. So just like what you do is not going to have them do it. You make a deal happen by demonstrating value. Now, how you do that or what that value is or where it comes from, that's interesting, right? 80% of the value you offer is helping them see their business from a new perspective. And only 20% is the demonstration of the product/service that you offer. Wow, that's like a big thing to say. So let me unpack that just a little bit. So you are a consultant. And so that word actually means that you're an expert. And as an expert, it's actually the conversation that you have with them that is the most valuable thing. Like they're getting your time because you're an expert and you're awesome and you're great and all that stuff. That is huge. And you're demonstrating the value of who you are and what you do all at the same time by just listening with them and having a conversation with them. So this new perspective that you're offering is going to have them discover a blind spot to see a vital element of their business anew. Like, oh man, I didn't see that. Second is this perspective is going to call them into taking a new action, right? Like, for example, oh man, I really need to do something about that thing. And then lastly, in this perspective, you are a freaking genius hero. They need you. Because if you ask the right questions, and we'll get to that in just a minute, I promise, you will look really good. And I promise you also that it's really not that hard. If you already have figured out what to say and predetermine all the basic stuff, like the structure. Okay. Oops. This one wasn't built out. So what are the elements of a sales call? So let's just go into the like 8 parts. This is by no means like, the be all and end all, but there's the intro and the opening, right? You asking them why they're on the call, you telling them who you are, you're setting out a clear agenda, then your needs analysis, you're finding out what they need. Now you get to explain your product. Now you can transition into the close, and now you can handle any of the objections and concerns they have. So we're going to focus this call on the very first part, mostly on the A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. But really, like at the E point is the most important part of the call. Like the gap between E and F is really where you're going to determine, or you'll know whether or not this sale is going to happen. So we can't cover everything, but I promise you, you're going to get a lot. So intro and opening, let's go over that a little bit. So now we're actually going to jump in directly into the script. So if you take a look at the stuff that I've written in bold, that's like legit stuff that you could actually copy, paste, and put into your script. So just to give you an idea of the formatting on this, I am giving you the basic foundation with these bolds and stuff like that here that you can use to build your own script. But the elements of intro and opening, that's going to be for you and for every script that you write. Now, I also want to make it clear that I don't, whatever industry you're in, it's all just another variation on this, and you'll see. Okay, so intro and opening. Hi, Millie. Thanks for getting on the call today. Right? Yeah, you just want to say hi to them, thank them. Second, insert personal remark. So here's what I mean by that. By the way, have you noticed that what I'm saying right now is kind of like a Mad Libs, right? So here's what I say. If appropriate and accurate, you can tell Millie that you were thinking about her ... and that you're glad you have the chance to talk to her more about it today. Why? Because you're establishing a connection with that person again, right? You're letting them know that, you know something about their business and you care. Ask Millie how she found out about you. Maybe that isn't the right thing to do because you hadn't been thinking about her business. So it'd be a good time to just like get the background of, how she found out about you, contacted her in the first place. So I want you to pay attention. In this intro and opening, there is no how are you. I'm not a big fan of how are you. In fact, I'm against it big time because frankly, I don't really care how people are or how they're feeling most of the time. And I see Ksenia laughing in the background, not because I'm a jerk, but because it actually takes away from the getting down to the business of this phone call because people's time is really valuable. And we're going to get to that in just a second. And you want to let them know that you're here and you mean biz. All right. So all you've done is you've chosen one of these remarks that's going to make sense for you based off of the call. Next is you want to ask that prospect, why are you on the call today? So I want you to know that people are busy and they don't get on calls with everybody. Now ask yourself this question. You could answer out loud is, right? Why do you think people get on a call in the first place with you? Who knows? I can't, whoever was that, looks like it's, I don't know your name, but somebody is on mute that wanted.
Oh, me, yeah. Maybe because you invited them to be on the call?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably, that's the access that they had to get on the call because you invited them. But does that mean that they got on the call because you invited them? Like, have you ever invited someone and they said no?
They're looking for a solution.
They needed something.
They need something. They're looking for a solution. Anybody else? Those are good. That's also right, too. They need something. They're looking for. Kendall, what about you? Why do you think they got on the call?
Because there's something about what you're offering that intrigued them.
Yeah, that's true, right? Here's how I say it. And, this is important. I think the opportunity is they get on calls because there is an opportunity that they see, right? They're not just getting on the call because they need something, is that they think that this call, hey, maybe that this call is an opportunity for my business to fulfill that need that I have. And you should find out what opportunity they see, right? Because that helps you understand where they are. And then lastly, if they don't see an opportunity, then you should create one and don't wait a single second, right? Like if someone is on a call with me and I am not clear that they're engaged, I'm like, okay, so are you engaged? Like, I'm not afraid to ask someone that question because, I don't want to waste their time and I don't want to waste my time. So if someone says, I'm not really sure why I got in the call, no big deal, right? Just be like, okay, well, work it out with them right then and there. All right, next is, so Millie, and then you could choose any number of these questions when you're asking them why you're on the call. So I give you a couple. 1, what had you take the time to have this call today? Really basic, right? 2, what do you know about what we do? Or 3, how are you hoping this conversation or exploring working together would help your business? Like any of these questions would be ultra sexy questions. I like the last question because when you're asking this question, you're like getting an entire world of answer, not just because I want more biz, but like you're getting an understanding of where they're coming from with it. So you can make up your own questions for this, but remember, you need your purpose is to understand why they're on the call. Tanya, it sounds like you want to say something. You cool? All right, great. Next is you want to sum up what they just said. You're going to sum up all day on this call. Like that is one of the goals you have. Tell them what they just told you, but reformulate their words into their needs and wants, their beliefs and values. You'll actually get a chance to understand that. So what you're telling me about your business is, right, you get to choose one of these questions too, or many of them. So you got on the call because your business is and you want it to be right? You're really summing this up. And they're like, oh yeah, you'll be surprised that people will be surprised that they weren't even clear that that's why they got on the call in the first place. So you're actually giving them a place to listen to the call from. And then lastly is, I think I could help you with what you said about do. Now, don't go into why, but just any of these questions are good. So choose one or more of these questions, but make sure that you're going to ask them if they're in your script there. Next, confirm that you have been accurate and elicit more. What do I mean by that? Does that sound about right? After you've done the sum up, you want to ask that question, right? People like don't like to correct other people, especially when they're on like a call, a sales call. They're not like, oh yeah, you're wrong about that, Tanya. It's not going to happen all the time. So what you want to do is give them the opportunity to tell you that you're wrong. Now, also, is there anything else I'm leaving out that you wanted to tell me? This is like a huge opportunity for you to dig deep. One of the purposes of asking why they're on the call is because you want to discover and elicit information that is going to help you for the rest of the call. So there's something called the black swan. I read a book on tape, or listened to a book by this guy, Chris Voss. It's called Never Split the Difference, and it's a book on negotiation. And in this book, there's a concept that's introduced called the black swan. A black swan is like this key piece of information that if you were to find that out about the business, it would completely change the context of your phone call, and you would, have the most insider key information to get to your desired outcome. That is what you're listening for when you ask these questions. And when you repeat it back to them, you're going to get the next layer. It's like an onion. Keep on peeling. All right, so now you want to say who you are. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about this. Millie, I want to tell you a little bit about me so you know where I'm coming from. Say that however you want, but have a version of that. Next, I want you to write this down verbatim. For God's sakes, do not try to improvise and recreate this pitch every time you do it. Give your 160 character story. Why are you passionate about what you do? Keep it simple. If you're an OwnersUP, you really care about what you do. I know that. And that is going to speak extremely loudly. And it's going to have that person want to work with you, want to talk with you, because people care about that stuff. So, and then you also could say something else, which is share one or two results that you've achieved that you're proud of and that you think could relate to whatever their industry is. So, you don't want to say, if you got a gold medal in the Olympics, that would be awesome to share because that's, crazy cool. But, at the same time, if you said, I helped the business go from 0 to 60 and now they're earning $5,000 in, profit every month after 2 weeks of working with me. Damn, that's good. All right, so agenda. One of the most important things about having why you should have an agenda is because people are kind of skeptical. They don't want to be sold to, but everybody does want to buy. I love buying stuff. How much do you guys love going on Amazon.com and buying things? Man, it's so satisfactory, but they don't want to be sold to. So if in an agenda, you get to clear the air and just tell them, first, by the way, this agenda is exactly your agenda. Just copy paste it. First, we will get to know you and your business a little bit better. Second, if I think I can help you, then I'll tell you more about what I do and what value I think I can offer you in working together. 3, if all of that makes sense to you and is in alignment, then let's continue the conversation to discuss more details on working together to meet your goals. Juliana, that's like part A of what you were asking. Okay? That's the agenda. They know what's going to happen now in this call. There's no mystery. Next, this is the needs analysis. This is the most important part of the call. This is the most important part of the call. Did you know, Jonathan, that this is the most important part of the call?
I absolutely do know that this is the most important part of the call.
I know you do. I know you do. It is so important, guys. This is that must-have of if you don't know what they want and what they have, there is nothing for you to say. So at the most fundamental level, all businesses want more of something. right? That's why they're talking to you. That's the opportunity. Oh man, if I talk to Tanya, I can get more of something. Or, hey, maybe I can get less of something that I don't want, right? So they have X number of that something, and they want Y number of it. It's like so simple, I promise you. And now it could be that they want more of that thing or less of it. So either one. So what do you have? What do you want? I'm going to give you the questions. People are always asking, what do I ask people? How do I figure out what I'm doing? Tanya, how often do you hear that? Crazy. It really is. It's like the number one thing people want to know. So I'm going to give you the details. And I want to let you know, if you're like underwhelmed by the answers I'm about to give you, perfect, because they're so simple. You should be like, oh my God, that's so simple. First is, hey, Sally. So I've been using Millie, because that's like a great aunt that nobody in my family ever talked to. You mentioned, Millie, that you wanted to ... Would you like to increase this / get better at this / fix that problem? Sorry, that was a statement. You would, and that you'd like to increase this, get better at this, fix this problem. You're starting off by making that statement. Second is, how many widgets, clients, jobs are you doing / selling per month, week, quarter, year right now? Why do I have all those slash marks? Because every business is going to be different. Some businesses think by the quarter or by the year. Some businesses think by the week or the month. So it's just, you'll find what's appropriate, right? So for example, if somebody is, a blue collar person, they're a plumber, right? You want to ask them how many jobs they're doing per week or per month. They don't know how many jobs they're doing per quarter, most likely. All right, then you're asking this question for a very simple reason. You want to know what they're doing. And this is going to help you qualify whether or not they're the right fit, like up front too, by the way, just so you know, right? If somebody is doing one job a month, and then you find out the third question, which is how much are those jobs worth to you? And they're worth $50, you better believe that call's not going to be worth your time. Unless they're like they've got some sort of like backing of lots of money that they're getting, which is almost never the case. When you ask the question of how many are you doing per month right now, and then you ask how much are they worth, well then that's a secret question. The secret question that's beneath those is, how much money do you make? Wouldn't you like to know the answer to that question? Jonathan, did you want to say something? Okay, cool. I'm okay with you chiming in, by the way. I consider you guys all to have some sort of value of information that you could add in here. So yeah, now I know how much money they make. I'm doing that not so I can like jack up the prices or be a jerk. I'm doing that so I can understand, like, can they afford to work with me? Or, can they afford to hire someone? Is this business in a place where they can even do something, or they should do something with me? Like, am I 3 steps in advance, or am I the next step? Now, also, how many would you like to be doing, right? Everybody has as many as they're doing, like we just talked about, and then they have as many as they'd like to be doing. So if somebody is like, you know what, I don't want to do anymore. Well, that makes this conversation easier. Bye, right? There's no point in you have nothing to help them with. Now, I'm not saying you should be curt with people, but if they say they only want a couple, well, then you want to be like, okay, well, I mean, just for a couple, how important are those couple to you? If they're very important, that's excellent. If they're not that important at all, well then, you should ask them, so why do you, obviously you're taking your time, it's valuable. Why do you think we should stay on the call? Next. Oh, wait. Now you ask, what do you have? What do you want? Oops, we just repeated that again. Now what? So what are you doing about that right now? Is it working? Right? So like, this is an important question, because if that person is like saying to you, I want 50 more jobs, and they're not doing anything about it, and they're doing 10, or I want 3 new clients this month, and they're not doing anything about it. Well, what makes you think they're going to do something about it now? Right? When somebody is already looking for a solution, it's going to be a lot easier to sell them your solution. But if they're not looking for a solution, now you have 2 tasks. Now you need to sell them on doing something, and then you need to sell them on doing your thing. So it's a lot easier for you to, it's a lot better. They're a better prospect, in my opinion, if somebody's already doing something and it is working or not working. Both of those answers are great. It doesn't matter, right? Because whatever they're doing is getting them the results that they have right now. Next is, what have you tried? So why do I ask this question, right? What are you doing and is it working is actually a different question than what have you tried, right? So a lot of people have tried things that didn't work out. So it's important to understand some of the thought process they've had and the action plan that they've taken already to solve their problem. So what's really cool is I know if somebody has, let's say, tried doing TV advertising, that they have a lot of money because it costs a lot of money to be on television. And for certain services, it doesn't yield a lot of results. So I know that they're willing to take risks. I know they're willing to try stuff. So it's really good to know that. Also, I get to know if it worked or it didn't work. And then I can understand why it didn't work. So I could later on in the conversation differentiate myself from that which did not work. So did those things that you were doing, trying, work, or are working, right? I just said that. Next, why did they work or not work? What did you like about them, right? So now you're kind of getting an experience of their opinions and you're understanding what they like. Because, hey, your product might have what they like in it too. And you want to make sure that you can speak to that later. Next is, and this is what we just talked about before, right? How important would you say getting X or Y more jobs is for your business? This is the part where they're actually getting a chance to say, wow, it's really important for me. And they may have never even considered how important it was to them. In fact, consider that you are the first person they've ever had this conversation with in their entire lives. Why? Because it's actually a pretty good chance that you are the first person. If someone's a small business owner or they're a business owner or they're any part in any business, they probably don't have that many people that would ask them these questions or that talk to them. In fact, you're an OwnersUP. You do these questions. That's why this is so great. But other people don't have that consulting benefit. So now you get to be that person. And when we talked about value add in the beginning, this is your value add. Next, and this is a great question. If you had that XYZ fixed, or more of your XYZ, what new height would that take the business? So in that book on tape I was just listening to, it was like he was telling us, people make decisions. Do people make decisions from an emotional place or a logical place? And the answer is both. But at the end of the day, they don't make a decision on whether it makes sense. They make a decision on how they feel about it. So when you ask someone a question, you say, how would it feel for you if, or how would it be for you if ... then that paints a picture for them. And that can actually have them experience a future. Because when people say, I just couldn't see myself doing that. Well, now you are having them see themselves do that. All right, so needs analysis. So important. Let's sum it up.
Eric, that's a great one, by the way. Just emphasize that one a bit more. How does it feel? And give one more example.
Okay, well, let's say this. Tanya, right now, isn't it so freaking hard for you to get new clients? You just told me that, you work so hard and you're closing 1 out of every 8 phone calls, right? This isn't
I'm going along with this. Okay, yeah.
Right? Now imagine if you got off every phone call knowing you did everything you could to close, and you are now closing 7 out of every 8 phone calls. What would that be like for you waking up in the morning with the sales call scheduled at 10 a.m.? How would you feel then? Would you be excited about that day? Tell me a little bit more about that. Well, give me the answer, Tanya.
It'd be amazing having that closing and not worrying about things or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be a total boss.
So for some people who can't imagine how that feels like even in Juliana's business, having their systems work, you almost want them to feel that pause and that feeling of excitement and then continue going.
Yeah.
So cool. Just want to make sure that's emphasized because that's a lot what people miss on the sales call. Yeah.
Now I'm summing up again. How many times have I summed up so far? Second sum up. So Mildred, right now you're doing XYZ job services and you'd like to be doing ABC amount right now. how many times have I said this? But I'm emphasizing that they don't have what they want right now. And that's true, by the way. In fact, consider that you are a partner in helping their business and that they don't want to do stuff because people don't do some of the stuff that's best for them sometimes. And you get to be an advocate for them and help them. You're reminding them. So you want to say this. This is part of your script. Remember, it's bold. Now, being that your widgets are worth ... I can see why it's important for you to have these coming in right now. Wow, yeah, wow. Being that, you get $1,000 for each person that sends back that letter, I can see why you want more of them. Besides the money, I'm hearing that your life would get a lot easier and it would help you solve your major problem of that toenail fungus you've been dealing with, because the laser toenail thing costs $3,000. I'm bringing humor to the conversation. All right, so let's move on. Next, this is another great question to sum up. Is it fair to say that this is what you're looking to do? And then insert whatever it is that you just said. Like, is it fair to say that this is what you're looking to do? Why do I use the word fair? I love the word fair because everybody wants to be fair. And when you put that word in, people they want to say, yes, of course it's fair. Right? You know what else people love? They love, are you open-minded about this? Everybody thinks they're open-minded. Right? No one's ever going to say no to that. All right. So you're doing a lot of summing up. And what you're doing is you're affirming everything that's happened so far. Right? And just like Tanya said, and if you had that, then you'd have /be this way, right? Like if you didn't have to spend 15 hours onboarding someone when you hired them, Juliana, wouldn't that just make it so much more exciting to hire someone new? Yeah. Boom. All right. Now let's talk about your product. This is the easy part. You don't need my help here. You really don't. This is important only in that it applies to what the prospect has said, not ISO. So it's so far in your conversations, right? You've already elicited the information, meaning you don't just talk at them with this. Everything that you're talking about for your product is specifically geared and tailored to what they've already told you. It's not that hard, I promise, because you already know what you're going to say. So let's give an example here. Speak from what you have heard is important to the prospect already. Write up a script giving a quick demo of your service, right? Literally, it's just this isn't hard. You don't need me for this. And give them a step-by process of what you do and how. Juliana, second part of answering your question. Do you guys see how what I just did with Juliana right now is exactly what I'm talking about? I literally I'm sprinkling in references from earlier in the call to let them know that I'm listening to them and I care about what they're asking me, which I do, by the way. All right. And then next is use examples to illustrate the product from what they've told you. So I love this example. So Jen, earlier you mentioned that you don't like Sour Patch Kids because you hate the yellows and oranges. Well, I just want to let you know that our candy is strictly pink, red, and green. People are always so happy to find that out. Our customers know that without those greens and yellows, those oranges and yellows, they automatically stop losing 40% of their total Sour Patch Kids. Now, Juliana, Jen, work with me here for a second. Imagine yourself closing your eyes at a movie and blindly putting your hand into the overpriced and oversized movie candy box and not needing to have to look down from the movie to figure out whether or not you're going to hurl from a yellow Sour Patch Kid. Wouldn't that be awesome? Right? Now feel free to unmute yourself so I can hear you laughing, everybody. Right? But now think about it for a second. I've just created the fear of loss, right? Damn, I am losing 40% of my Sour Patch Kids because I don't like oranges and yellows. All right, so next. Now you want to transition to close. And believe it or not, you have your third sum up. You're summing it up again. So Millie, when we started out talking, you mentioned that you were super interested in doing X more Y's right away. And it's important to you because of W, right? ... Can you see that I'm literally repeating this over and over and over again? Because I'm keeping the eye on the prize. The whole point of the conversation is so that we can change the future for business. Did you know that you're actually changing the future of everyone you're working with? That's why it's worth it. So next, are we still on the same page here? That's a question you're asking. Or you could change it to, is that still something that you'd like to do? Okay, great. From what we've discussed so far about our solution, would it be fair to say that you're clear that working with Sour Patch Kids will help you solve that problem? Wow. Now you're having them admit that this is the right solution and that it'll help them solve your problem. Now, I promise you, you're not saying this if it's not appropriate to say, but if you've made it this far in the conversation, the answer is going to be yes. Or, from everything we discussed today, I'm curious. Jen, are you open-minded to explore what it'd be like to work together to solve your yellow-orange Sour Patch Kid problem? Right, so one question is going to give me a little bit of a different answer than the other one. So the first one is more tentative. The second one is like, I'm pretty much saying, do you want to know what it'd be like to work together? And so now I'm inviting them to ask me what it would be like. I'm having them pull the conversation forward towards the outcome that I want. Juliana, point number 3 that I've addressed, or 4, about your question. Are you satisfied yet, Juliana?
Yes and no. So the reason why I asked the question, and it was a little bit too soon. Here, sorry, I've got like music in the background, which I can't shut off because I can't reach. The reason why, it's because usually I don't have to transition to close. They transition to close for me, right? So once I get like past the needs analysis, and yeah, like usually once I get past the needs analysis, they start asking like, hey, what does it look like to work with you? So,
awesome. So what do you think?
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, so Juliana, what do you think you should do then? What do you think you should say?
Well, I think that talking about the product is still important. Like that's where, we could talk about this a little bit more in the Q&A section. Because it's how do you formulate a good close when you get asked that sort of preemptively, right? Because then I don't get to have them sort of feel the loss of like.
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second because I want you to answer that question. What do you think you should say back to that?
I don't know. That's why I got on the call with you.
Oh, perfect. Let me keep you in suspense a little bit longer until the Q&A.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you. Okay, now transition to close, ask for the biz. So I want to make it clear. You want to ask for the business. Now, Juliana, if you have that problem of people asking you for the biz, well, I feel very bad for you. Of course not. No, that's spectacular, right? If you're at that point in the conversation, you've done a great job. Juliana, congratulations. You're kind of an ass kicker. You want to realize that is like the thing that everybody wishes they had. Okay, so ask for the biz. It seems like it's fair to say we're in alignment on what you need to move forward with this issue. From the past couple of conversations, I know that I would really enjoy working with you, and I'm clear that I can help you, just like I helped those other people I mentioned earlier. Right? These are some options of what you can do. I promise you, you got to write this yourself right now. Like, you can't just take this one part, or you could, but I recommend that you would write your own version of this or one of these lines at this point in the conversation. And you want to understand that the intention of this is to have them say yes or no. I would love to work with you too, Juliana, because I think we'd have a lot of fun in the process. And then now I'm inserting your new future, because you would get a chance to connect and impart the company culture on that new employee if you weren't spending 15 hours training them on the most basic crap that nobody cares about. Oh, wow, cool. Yeah. And if what we've mentioned so far, Juliana, makes sense, then I invite you / your business to get rolling and get started working together. How does that sound?
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So I want to make it clear, so if you think you're going to be comfortable at this point, then you're wrong. You won't be comfortable right now. But this is the part of the conversation where it's most important to be okay with being uncomfortable. You're essentially saying, would you please take out your credit card? Why you're doing that is because you're driving something. What you're driving is a yes or a no. You want to get to that point. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Eric?
Yes, Judy.
Hey, how do you redirect it if they bring up the price issue in the beginning and say, well, I don't know if I can afford you. What do you charge? That kind of thing.
Wow, what a great question. Well, I think that, it's an interesting question, right? You first it depends about your business. So does your business, for example, OwnersUP, right? However much OwnersUP cost is, for the most part, something that people should be able to afford and can afford if they have a real business. So the price isn't something that matters there. I mean, you could argue that it does, but I actually don't think it does. So it's like a non-issue. Now, if your product costs $3,000, $10,000 a month, well, then that's a conversation that, likely you'll have already addressed partly in the initial call. So if that person is only selling 5 widgets a month at $500, well, unless they have recurring revenue from past widgets they've sold for the last year, it's really unlikely they're going to be able to afford your product. So what I would do, this is just one thing you could do depending on, where you're at, is say, I noticed that you are bringing in around this much money per month. Is there anything else that your business is doing to generate more revenue? Is this a full-time business for you? And if they say yes, then it's like, okay, what is that? And the reason why I'm asking is because this product for a lot of people is a significant investment, or it is an investment that is for blank business. And so you don't have to say what your price is, but I think at that point, if you think it's a no-go, then you could do the takeaway, right? Be like, hey, I don't know if you're interested, or I don't know if this is for you, right? That's also one of the things the guy said, that's a great preface. But, I don't know if this is for you, and then I don't know if this is for you, it's going to cost, the average person that works for me spends around $2,000. Now, if that person is so scared off by that, then I don't know, they probably won't be the best fit. But what I would say always is, I don't want you to talk about price at all until you talked about value, because you don't want to mix those two things up. If you haven't created any value about what your business is and who you are yet, there's no point in mentioning the price, because the price outside of the context of value means nothing. Literally. So if you think that you've established some sort of value, then you could say to that person, okay, I think that's a really good question. Price usually doesn't get in the way of people working with me. Let me talk a little bit about what I do, and I promise you I'll address that price in just a minute. So it took me a while to get there, but I think that's a great answer. Does that leave you satisfied, Judy?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Got a yes.
Okay, awesome. Yes or no? Either way, perfect. That's great. I want you to give me an answer. What do we not like? Tanya, say it out loud.
Let me think about it, or I'll get back to you.
Yeah. So let me think about it is cool, because when you do the objections and rebuttals and stuff like that, that's okay. We're going to push that to a yes or a no also. But maybe, or let me get back to you, right? Boom. I hate that. So now you have the opportunity to deal with objections. Now someone may say yes, and they will work with you, and they will have objections and or concerns. So that's okay. When you onboard someone, or when you sign them up to work with you, they are very much so going to have questions still, but they know they want to work with you. That's fine. You should set up a time to go over those things. Now, if someone has some objections and they say no, well, we don't have time to go into that. This is really important, but you should make a list of all the potential objections, and then you should give your rebuttals. So let me just make it clear. An objection is something that the prospect says that is a concern, or a reason that they won't or they don't think they should do business with you. A rebuttal is what you, as a salesperson, say back to that prospect to assuage those concerns and to squash that objection. Now, this is a whole nother conversation. Hey, Tanya, maybe we'll do this on another OwnersUP Knowledge Up, but we're not going to cover it right now. If not, do that. I'll be honest, I don't know what that means and why I put that in this, but I do want to let you know that we're at the end of the presentation. And what that means is now it's time for you to sign them up. Ask for the business again. Pre-write this. So what I mean is you've given your, they've given their objections, you've given them your rebuttals. Every single rebuttal should end with, so let's do this. Tanya, do you want to get started? Because there's no point in answering their question unless you're asking for the business to drive the outcome. And so when I say pre-write this, I mean you should write down exactly how you're going to ask that person to do business with you. Because remember, you are so uncomfortable at this point. That's why you're on the call right now. You're not comfortable and fluid at asking people for the opportunity. So if you just need to look at a piece of paper, put your finger on it and read it like you're in third grade and you barely know how to read that well, go ahead and do it, because that's going to make it a lot easier, because you don't get anything that you don't ask for the most part. All right, next, ask them if they have any questions or concerns. Right? Sometimes you will have a call that is not going to end with the outcome that you'd like. Like I said, that's another conversation for us to have in the future, but you want to make sure that there is nothing that is unsaid by them at the end of the conversation. So even if they're a no, if they're a yes, but, whatever it is, you want to make sure that you're leaving the conversation with them knowing you understand exactly where the hell they're at. And if you do that, it's going to increase your chances of that follow-up conversation closing, because now you're controlling how it is they think and feel about the decision making process. So I've said a lot right now. In fact, what I've done is I've told you how to run a sales call and how to write a sales script. So I hope you've been satisfied with everything we've gone over so far. Now you're going to set the next steps up with the prospect. Like I said, I'm not going to go over that because they're going to be different. But hopefully they should take out their credit card and work with you because you're awesome. All right? So let's move on to Q&A. I know there's not that much time left, but I'm willing to dedicate some extra time to you guys if you're interested in staying on a little further. Oops. Go ahead.
I have a question, Judy, here.
Yes, Judy.
How do you document all this while you're engaged in the conversation so you're able to give that feedback and, recap everything? Because I have trouble doing that. Either I'm in the conversation or I'm busy taking notes.
You know what, Judy? I'm going to stop the share so I can look at you.
Hi.
Give me a moment.
Uh-oh.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, great. You can see. All right. Well, so you're asking, how is it that during a conversation you can keep track of all of that stuff that's going on, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So when you get to the needs analysis, that's when you're asking the questions about the basic fundamentals, the hard facts about the business. That is what I would definitely recommend you writing down, right? If you remember, there was 2 slides. I don't know why you would. There was like a million slides. But in the needs analysis, there were 2 parts. One was, what do you have? What do you want? The second half is, now what? So what do you have? What do you want is numbers. So you want to write that down for sure. Second part is, what are you doing right now? What have you tried? All that stuff. You want to write those things down. In fact, you're probably pretty familiar with all of those things at this point because you've been in the industry for a while. Now, those are also things that you write down, but you only write down the stuff that's important. So, for example, you want to write down those black swans, those bits of information that are like so important, right? Because if you have 3 clients that have already tried X service and it didn't work and now they're working with you and they've tried that, wouldn't that be a really good thing to keep in mind at the end of the conversation, in the middle of the conversation?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about writing anything down outside of those things if it's overwhelming for you. And when you first have a script, I think you should just be focusing on going through that script. and your process is key, even if you lose a deal or two because, you feel like you sound stupid, it's worth it in the long term. So to answer your question, to sum it up, I would write down the hard numbers, and then I would write down the key pieces of information that you believe will lead that person to do business with you, or that you've gathered that would be the best evidence or bullets in your gun that why that person should do business with you.
All right, guys. So we ran out of time. I'll send Eric's email address around. So if you guys have questions, get it answered. Sorry about that. We just have another 1 o'clock OwnersUP call. Eric, thank you so much. So many great, valuable things. And I'll be sending this video anytime somebody is dealing with sales. So thank you so much, Eric. And I feel like you have your online course already.
Thanks, Eric. Great job.
Thanks, Eric. Good job.
Yeah, send your burning questions over. I don't want to leave anybody hanging here.
Okay.
Yes. So his email is, do you want to just say it, Eric?
Yeah, E as in Eric, J as in Joel, EJ, brief, like briefcase, at Gmail, EJ brief.
And if you guys don't have it, just shoot me an email and then I'll send it over. And this is recorded, so it'll be sent out tomorrow. All right, guys? Thank you so much, Eric. Freaking awesome.
Yeah, one more thing, Tanya. I would highly recommend, I've given so much information over here. People pay a lot of money and they spend a lot of time unpacking this. I would recommend for you to write down the top 3 takeaways that you got from this right now. Don't pass go. Just do that right now. And that will really be valuable for you if you want to talk about takeaways. Okay?
Awesome. All right. Ciao.
All right. Thank you, guys.